Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to the channel. And oh my God, listen, Gamergate was it's coming up on 5 years. We're looking at about 6 weeks away from Gamergate, and it's 5 year anniversary. It's half a decade anniversary. And while it's been kind of long and dead, while there's been rumors that have been circulating in particular pockets of people that are saying Gamergate 2, is it gonna happen? Are we going to rally the crew troops? Are we going to get the gang back together? Look, the likelihood of it happening is not going to happen. But maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's too splintered, too fractured to ever be as what it was, to put it in Arthurian legend terms. The Knights of the Round Table, they ain't coming back to the Round Table. You know what I mean? Everyone just kind of hates each other after 5 years, which seems to make a lot of sense, because it brought in all kinds, good, bad, and the other. Anyway, so, but that could change. That could absolutely change with what's going on here with MORDHAU. If you haven't heard of this game, it's pretty cool. I haven't got it yet, but I've watched a lot of streams of it, and it's a lot of fun. But apparently the developers are now being pressured by games media in order to consider censoring themselves and censoring the community. And this is not a joke. This is legitimately happening. There are legitimately people out there that are trying to shame the developers of MORDHAU into censoring the community because of perceived, racism and whatnot. And it's just like, okay. I'm not for racism. I'm against racism. And from what I can read, apparently so are the developers of MORDHAU, but that's not going to stop PC Gamer and Kotaku from attempting to exert influence over a private entity under the same kind of extortion tactics that Anita Sarkeesian used on Cyberpunk 2077. So anyway, the developers at Triturnion, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, are being bombarded by propagandists from major gaming outlets and the Twitter hordes to compromise the freedom of the community interaction in place of censoring their forums, the chat, and in-game communications as a way to silence anyone who uses language that agitators deem problematic or toxic. The developers are obviously caught between doing the right thing and kowtowing to the demands of the no-fun police and seem to be contemplating a middle ground. Now, here's where, obviously this article has its own bias, oneangrygamer.net, 100% right-wing at this point, but that's not even what I'm trying to get to. Yeah, they are in the middle ground here because they want to make sure that they have an open and inviting platform in a game for anyone to get in on, and they don't want anyone to be harassed or to be attacked or anything else. Like, that just seems to make the most amount of sense, that that's the road that they're trying to go for. But the PC Gamer and Kotaku and whatnot are ultimately going to try to say that's not good enough. To which case I respond back with that of like, well, who are you to say that's not good enough? And yeah, perhaps in your particular personal opinion, letting people be jerks on the internet isn't good enough for you, but you don't own the servers. You don't develop the game. What is you doing? Now, it all started with an article by PC Gamer on July 1st. The article from Samuel Horty attempts to bash the developers over the head with the proverbial shame tactics, claiming that the developers aren't doing enough to curb racism and homophobia, and therefore it's driving players away, which is based on zero data. I'm sure it's driven away a couple people, just like any racism and homophobia that you might find in a Call of Duty game, or a Halo game, or a FIFA game, or a Madden game, or an Overwatch game. And you're going to find this. I was playing I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 the other night, and these two guys were just going back and forth over each other. It was nothing but the N word and the F word constantly, and it was like nonstop till somebody chimed in and said, "Why don't you both just fucking get it over with?" Right? Like that type of crap trash talk is going to end up happening in these games. It's a demoralizing tactic used by people as a way to get a one-up on their competitor. That is never going to change. You are never going to change the human condition in that regard. You're just never going to do it. And you know what happened after that one guy said, "Hey, y'all should just sleep together to get it over with"? They laughed, and the next game started, and no one ejected from the room. Would you? How do you like that? How do you like that scenario? I'm serious. It's again, it's so dumb. Maybe treat people to either accept hearing bad things or to teach people when they're younger just to not use them. You're more likely to do the former than the latter, to be fair. Now, going on to say, if you look at the Steam charts, you'll see that the game has settled into a 13,500 peak average of daily players, which is a lot better than Valve's Artifact, which can barely accrue 500. Don't quite know what those two have to do together. Don't quite know what that has to do with the price of tea in China. But, 13,500 people playing a day is no small number. MORDHAU wants the developers to kill off their community in the same way that Blizzard did with Overwatch, with overbearing censorship, instant bans, and constant authoritarian rule to keep players from having fun, saying it's not just about a lack of resources. Developers are currently unwilling to take a hard stance against any toxicity. In a recent update, they added the option to mute players by clicking on them in chat. But in an interview before the update, they told me they didn't want to add any sort of word filter, partly because they are afraid people might claim we're censoring. Which, let's get through this quote and we'll talk about that. Other developers of the competitive multiplayer games are happy to take a more hardline stance. Rainbow Six Siege aggressively filters slurs and has a manual moderation team, while Rocket League has a similar system. Many multiplayer games don't police their chat that tightly, but most have fleshed out reporting system, which MORDHAU does not. Okay, so when you have the developer saying, like, look, we're giving you the ability to mute a person because we don't want to be accused of censorship, and then effectively then it follows up by saying, well, Rainbow Six Siege did it, Rocket League did it, Overwatch did it, and people got really mad at that. Now, I don't know if that's had any impact on the bottom line. I look, a buddy of mine works on the Overwatch esports team, over there at Blizzard, and he travels the world constantly, and it's nonstop. It's huge. It hasn't slowed down. So in the grander aspect, it hasn't impacted the game at all. But it does feel like it's an overkill, and some of the ways that Blizzard's been trying to go about this has seemed very draconian. So, nobody wants that. But then again, people are still playing it, so who's to say really where things are right now? It's better to not censor than it is to censor. Let's be absolutely fair on that. Now, Rainbow Six Siege's censorship skyrocketed to the point where you can be auto-banned for using profanity in the chat in an M-rating game. The censorship is so ridiculous that many have been trolling the community to get players banned for accidentally triggering the filter. The developers at MORDHAU weren't willing to go that far, given that they're an indie dev and they prefer to actually be making money selling a game instead of killing off their community and their reputation. Again, at 13,000 people per day, I don't think that would really happen, if you want my honest opinion. Now, the artist for the studio told PC Gamer, we want to put the power in the player's hands. If we take an official stance, if we put in an official filter list on the words in chat, people will first find ways around it, and it might catch innocent words, or people might claim we're censoring. We'd rather just put the power in the player's hands. Basically saying, look, if you don't like what somebody else is saying in this game, mute them and kindly, pimp away, which is fine. That is fine. If you want to mute other people, I mute people in chat all the time, not because they're saying bad things. I just don't want to interact with them. So I mute them. And then I also mute myself because I just don't want to interact with them. I'm not playing this game to talk to you, but it doesn't matter. Now, sister, that's how normal people handle the situation, which I completely agree. But apparently PC Gamer wasn't that satisfied because their staff don't fit the aforementioned category and require authoritarians to censor content on their behalf. The developers, Andrew Geach, was also pressured by PC Gamer to talk about the customization, specifically females and darker skinned characters. He says, that goes back to a similar situation with the chat filters. Whatever stance we take officially, some group of people are going to be upset with us. So ideally, we'd put the power in the player's hands and give them the option to enable or disable certain things. There's been an endless debate about it. It attracts a lot of toxicity, a lot of stuff we're not interested in attracting to the game itself anymore on top of what's already present, but we're always looking to expand our customization. So you can play as women and people with darker skin. You get more options what characters you want to play as. Doesn't people like PC Gamer, the writers for that, don't they want that to be a thing? Don't they want that to be a reality? Don't they care about that? Anyway, MORDHAU, they actually kind of clarified. They say here, we at Tritronion, again, I'm totally mispronouncing that, and as a small indie team have a lot to learn when it comes to dealing with toxicity/racism in a large community. However, we need to clarify some things posted in the article today. We do not, nor have we ever had plans to add a toggle to hide other ethnicities or disable characters that aren't white. In MORDHAU, any claims to the contrary are false, and that was their official statement as of yesterday. And they're already being attacked in a lot of other places. As we know, we already know that they're being heavily criticized on places like Reset Era and Reddit that absolutely positively want to see something like this get just brigaded to hell. People, and this is where, and look, what you have here is a situation full of assholes. Okay, so let's be fair about that for a second. What you have is a situation where real toxic, crappy people are going in and being real toxic and crappy people. People go to games to be, for escapism. And oftentimes it brings out some of the worst elements of their personality. So they're jerks, right? Now, that might cause a few people to get frustrated and leave. So the developers say, well, we know that there's jerks out there. So right now, while we figure things out, we're going to give you the ability to mute them. So then you don't have to deal with them. End of story. That should be pretty much where it's at. But as with everything involving Kotaku or PC Gamer or Rock Paper Shotgun or any of these absolute left-leaning websites, and I say this as a damn lefty, that's never good enough. And the reason why is it's never, ever, 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 ever going to be good enough. Period. Point blank. Full stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. That is where it's at. It is always going to be like that with them, which is why you never give them an inch. I don't understand in many cases with gaming why people feel the need to be outright like douchebags. I don't get it. Personally, don't understand it. Not my cup of tea. But at the same time, as I mentioned with the story involving Red Dead Redemption, generally if someone steps up and says, both of you are idiots, shut up, it usually ends in a laugh and then you go back to the damn game. It's that simple. But as we know, a lot of the people who write about games media don't actually play games or purchase games or even care about them outside of a hefty paycheck that comes from working for these guys, at least for right now. So that's a problem. And that's where we find ourselves. But I leave it to you, your thoughts, your opinions. And if you liked what I had to say here, if this resonated with you in any particular fashion, please head over to patreon.com/Matt Jarbo. Help out the channel. YouTube at this point in time is basically just demonetizing everything. Even stuff that does get monetized, it rates my channel as very like R-rated, even though I don't swear that often. So basically it's like no like penny ads play. So it's really pointless. At this point, to rely on that. So anyway, that's out there if you guys want it, or you can become a channel member, link below in the video description. Anyway, I do appreciate everyone watching, everyone hanging out, everyone paying attention, and I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Leave a comment, and peace out.